In 1935, Hitler authorized the killing of children who were defective once war began. During the spring of 1939, doctors and managers worked out a plan to implement in case of war. Plans were completed in the summer of 1939 and implemented in October 1939. A secret decree report of deformed newborn became the official document implementing euthanasia. Germany required doctors to report on children under 3 who had Mongolism, small head size, deformities, or paralysis. Most doctors willingly compiled and gave the information to the Reich Committee on Children, which determined the children to be killed. A few doctors refused to participate in reporting or killing and were excused without punishment. The first killing center for children was near Berlin, just outside of Brandenburg, and it became the training center for murdering children. The last child killed was on May 25, 1945. 21 days after Germany surrendered. During the war, the German state established killing centers throughout the country, but most were small killing operations. Government officials initiated and directed the murders, but doctors actually performed the killings. Physicians used starvation, medication, and overdoses to eliminate the children. Doctors also took responsibility to persuade parents to cooperate in handing over their children for euthanasia. When Hitler appeared to end adult euthanasia in August 1941, no action was taken to limit the killing of children. Infants were murdered first, followed by children under 3. Eventually, older children were added to the pool for euthanasia. Records did not survive the war, but an estimated 5,000 to 20,000 children were euthanized. Few of the doctors were prosecuted after the war. One director of a killing center was convicted, got a 6-year sentence, was released after 2 years for supervising the murder of 120 children. Hitler approved the murder of adults in the summer of 1939. The operation was at a much larger size than the euthanasia program for children. Government officials recruited doctors and psychiatrists who directed the killing operations. Initially, World War I veterans were exempted for fear it would leak out to the troops and undermine morale. However, the exempt category was soon limited to vets who received medals for bravery and service. Patients who could not do productive labor became subjects for euthanasia. Killings were done without permission of relatives and kept secret from 1939 to 1941. At least 70,000 were murdered during that time period. Authorities decided that the use of gas proved more effective than injections to kill the unfit, a method adapted to the mass murder of Jews. Several killing centers were established in 1940, and initially carbon monoxide was used. Patients were deceived to ensure possibility and compliance. Victims were stripped naked and taken to what looked like shower rooms. Medical staff told the patients that they were to be given baths or showers. Most gas chambers were initially in basements. For example, Hardheim near Linz, Austria, could process 150 people a day and turn human beings into ashes in its own crematoria within 24 hours. Gold teeth were removed, and some brains were harvested for scientific experiments. Relatives received fake causes of death, but by the summer of 1941, the killing of German adults leaked out to relatives in the general community. The Catholic Church protested, and some Protestant ministers joined the protests as early as the summer of 1940, when the first leaks about the euthanasia of adults reached the public. The killings of adults temporarily stopped in August 24, 1941, due to the protests. Several Catholic bishops, like the Bishop of Limburg, spoke out against euthanasia. However, in German-occupied areas, killings of the handicapped continued and resumed in Germany after brief hiatus. By the end of the war, 275,000 psychiatric patients were killed. The program was extended to concentration camps in 1940, and 120,000 Germans who were sick, crippled, or unfit to work were murdered from 1940 to 1944. Special facilities were constructed at Mauthausen and Grossrosen concentration camps, for example, to handle euthanasia of adults. Polish mental patients were added to the euthanasia program in 1939, and later Russian POWs. Initially, Jews were considered part of a separate purification program, but in June 1940, German Jewish mental patients were sent to Columbia House in Berlin and later to Bavaria for elimination.